shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave it even if he could. 'Cause life is good, yeah!
Hickok45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the beautiful hills of Middle Tennessee, the home of Dolly Parton, the lovely Dolly Parton, and Alvin York, the tough Alvin York, the great shot Alvin York, the hero Alvin York, right? Cool under pressure Alvin York. Lots of people can shoot pretty darn well, but to do that under pressure while you're being shot at, boy, that's another thing altogether, isn't it? Anyway, good to come to you again. It's just been a week, but I don't know. Cold weather. I was out here hanging out. Thought, well, maybe I'll talk to the viewers, or excuse me, listeners, about a couple of things. I don't know. So just don't come to expect me to do this weekly, okay? You know, we started out doing this as a weekly thing, and then just after about a year, I guess it was, switched over and decided, well, hey, listen, I don't want to be obligated to do a radio show every week. Wow, I'm not Tom Gresham. This is just kind of for fun and to, I don't know, ramble about things that I don't ramble about in videos. So I don't want the pressure of that. I don't want the pressure of any of it. I do all of this because I enjoy it. So anyway, it is a little bit random, just like what I talk about. You might get one every week for 3 weeks, and then it'd be a month. So just enjoy the boredom when you get them. Enjoy the boring rambling, because it could be a week, it could be 3, it could be a month, it could be 6 months. Okay. Anyway, not that you'd be missing that much, right? What are we going to talk about? Well, I must have had something. I don't know, really. I had a couple of things, and it was just a cool day, really cool day, to come out and hang out in the reloading room. Nobody's around, and I'm almost caught up on some things. So thought I'd talk. And it's also Thanksgiving weekend, so I thought I would just rattle at you a little bit. And many of you are celebrating Thanksgiving. Some of you are not. You may not even know what Thanksgiving is. I don't know, in this country. And regardless of where you live or what religion you practice or don't practice, all of us have a lot to be thankful for. I hope if you're able to listen to this, you have technology to get on the internet and listen and watch videos. You probably have something to be thankful for, right? All of us take things for granted. It's just the nature of the human animal. We get accustomed to things and then want something better, and we take for granted what we have. But wow, you think about it, we all should be thankful, right? I mean, if you can wake up, did you wake up this morning? I'll bet you did. You know, if you opened your eyes and regained consciousness, then that's something to be thankful for, isn't it? If you were able to get out of bed, like I was, if you were able to walk to the kitchen, to the bathroom, get ready for the day, hey, there's something to be thankful for, because there are people who can't do that. Could you see the kitchen when you got there? When you stumbled in to fix yourself some breakfast or coffee, could you actually see where you were going? There are people who can't see, right? People who can't feel. People who can't fix a cup of coffee. So anyway, people can't smell the coffee, maybe, so we all have a lot to be thankful of. Thankful for, I'll get my prepositions right one of these days, right? Thankful for, what this of thing is streaking through my mind. Maybe I should be thankful that I actually know what a preposition is. Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, I do. I do know what a preposition is, by the way. It's one of those things you're not supposed to end a sentence with. Okay? Keep that in mind. Actually, that's a little bit bogus and overrated. But I digress as usual. It's interesting, isn't it? I start digressing and getting off topic before I even get started. Maybe that's because that's the nature of a radio show coming out of the reloading room at the Hickok45 compound. But really, we all should be thankful this weekend and be aware of it. It doesn't matter whether, we're a religious soul or not. That's really irrelevant. We should be grateful and thankful for our health, whatever health we have, and whatever we are able to do. I should be more thankful than anybody that I know of almost. I'm just a very lucky guy in so many ways. And you see it in the videos, don't you? Have a lot of viewers and a YouTube channel that is, pretty successful. And because of that, I get to play with a lot of firearms that, I would not normally have access to. And as you might have guessed, if you've watched the channel for a couple of years, even the slower folks out there among you might have been able to conclude that I do enjoy firearms. And so that's obviously something for me to be thankful for. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. Thanksgiving and the weekend in this country is something a lot of us celebrate. Have a big meal if we can, and family together as much as possible, which is more and more difficult these days, isn't it? With people living all over the place and having to travel, and with obligations, with other families or in-laws, and so you can't always be with the people maybe you'd like to be with, but still, it's all good, and it works out in most cases, doesn't it? Pretty well. So, anyway, I hope you're having a bite of turkey or something you enjoy eating. Maybe your Thanksgiving ritual is get a pizza, whatever that might be. So that's pretty cool. We'll all be getting together with John and having a dinner here at the compound. So looking forward to that. And what else was I going to ramble about that I'm thankful to be able to ramble about? Oh, I'll think of something. Speaking of being thankful, speaking of words, like prepositions and religion, relax, not going to get into religion. You won't hear that. Or party politics. Might get close to the edge at times, but I was reminded recently of words. And one of the endeavors I was involved in teaching had to do with words and the language. Could never guess that, could you? Hearing me speak sometimes. But yes, I was involved in teaching great works of literature and the English language to some extent, even grammar. Yeah. No, it's not that bad. And you would think that words would be sacred for someone who has taught English, and they are pretty important. It's incredible how the English language, as well as other languages, there's a word to describe just about everything, right? Almost any feeling, any emotion, any object in nature. We've categorized everything, haven't we? We the human race is a master of categorization and naming things. There's nomenclature. There's look at science. Look at whatever area of science. Tree botany, trees. The zoology, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, whatever. We've got everything named. You could spend the rest of your life just studying the various species of birds or something, or worms, or I don't know, insects, and learning to spell the names of all those and pronounce them exactly, right? Same for human characteristics, or again, emotions and things. And I recall. I don't know a lot about Zen, but I remember reading something about, and I could be wrong, I could have it mixed up, but the concept was impressive to me. how words are actually feeble is one way to look at it, and limiting. And I always thought that was interesting. I would bring that to my students' attention, talk about it sometimes. Again, it's a little bit contradictory when you're someone who is supposed to be teaching the English language, but I think it's important to also remember that words can be limiting, and that really, as amazing as the languages are, in the English language specifically, sometimes there's not a word. There's not an appropriate word. There's not an exact word, is the point that I'm trying to make. And I believe that's one of the Zen teachings, if I'm not mistaken. And that putting a word to something limits it to some extent. And for example, you might be having a very serious emotion of some sort, a feeling, maybe confusion, you're confused or whatever, depressed, I don't know, or elated, you're ecstatic, you're so happy, whatever it might be. And maybe those words, none of those words I just used are adequate. Maybe they don't really explain what you're feeling, exactly. And they limit it. You are so filled with something, whether it's confusion or whatever it is. But the word confusion is not good enough. We could come up with other words, but that the words actually limit us. Like you might have some kind of thought or expression, feeling that's so profound to you sometime, or have had it, you couldn't think of a word for it. No words seem to describe it well enough. And if you spend a few hours with the dictionary, thesaurus, and yes, I thought that was just an interesting concept that we're more complex than the language actually. We just are, and then the other side of that is once we put a word to it, we nail down what it is that we are thinking or feeling. Then, that becomes it. Oh, that's it. I'm just depressed, or I'm just happy, or whatever word it is. And then we begin to associate whatever it is with just that word and just the definition, meaning of that word. And that becomes the emotion. And as a result, it limits that in our minds and other people's minds to some extent. Whereas maybe that emotion or that whatever it is greater than that. It's something I once put a word to. It can't be encompassed. It's so complex or powerful or whatever it is. So in that respect, words can actually be a limiting factor. Okay? Wow. No, I promise I've not been drinking. I really have not. Maybe I should be. But I don't know, that was just something I thought came across my mind for whatever reason. And I really, what I'm trying to explain to you, I can't put a word to it, okay? Because it's more powerful. All right, now I'm trying to be ironic, right? Or just goofy. But but in terms of, I mentioned religion, well, what's all this got to do? Nothing really, except that different philosophies and religions, I think all of them have something to offer thinking people, okay? Whether it's Christianity or Zen Buddhism or you name it. Go around the world, study all the great religions of the world or even the minor religions of the world. And there's something, I think, in all of them that is of value, something of interest at least, probably to almost anybody. A person might not adhere to the strict doctrines of a particular religion, but find certain aspects of it useful or interesting, So I don't know, just my thoughts, and I'm going to try to put that into words. But as I said earlier, you cannot criticize me for not explaining that well, because sometimes words are inadequate. Maybe it's just me. I am the one who's inadequate, right? And that's kind of part of it too, I think. Sometimes you just can't explain something. There aren't the words for it, or it's just really difficult to put into words, what you're trying to say. But even so, that should not diminish the intellectual thought that you have. Just because you can't figure out what it is or how to get it into the best words. All right, I'll shut up and start talking about something more concrete. All right, like a cinder block. How's that? That's pretty concrete. Let's move on to the next topic. Well, before I move on, speaking of that, one of my very favorite, probably my favorite book, I guess. It's hard to have a favorite book. That's like having your favorite child or something, favorite movie, favorite gun. It's hard to have one because you really don't. You have lots of favorite ones for different reasons and that sort of thing. But one of my very favorite books, and I had this on the website, you guys, gals that have been with us for a long time might remember, and part of the background information that you don't really have that much room for that now on the YouTube channel, but in some of that long verbiage I had on the early channel there 2-3 years ago, I think it had a place in it for your favorite books or something, or I don't know, maybe I did, but one of my favorite books is Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And that book is really not about motorcycle maintenance or about just Zen. It's just, you just have to read it. But and there's a lot in there. If I sat down with the author, Robert Pirsig, who I think is still alive. He wrote that book back in the, I think, early 70s. So it's sort of coming out of the hippie era there. But, and he was definitely an intellectual. Unlike me, obviously. But a lot of people had told me I'd probably like that book for whatever reason. For a period of a few years. Have you ever had that experience where people tell you, it's just like Breaking Bad. People were telling me the last year or two, off and on, I hear, you'd like Breaking Bad, I'll bet. You're like Breaking Bad. Yeah, okay, when's that thing on? I never would see it. And then finally I caught a piece of it, and enough people told me, I bought the whole set. I own all of it now. So, and they're right, I like it. Well, I was that way with this book. I finally was in a bookstore somewhere back in my publishing days and saw it, and there's that book people recommend. Picked it up and waded through it while I was traveling. So interesting book. If I really don't know whether to recommend it or not. You might hate it. As I was about to say, if I sat down to have coffee or a cold beer with the author, I might not even like the guy. I don't know. But I was, there's something about the book I just liked. I don't know, something about that same feeling as when you read like Walden, or some of Emerson or Thoreau. If you like that kind of thing, you'd probably like it. It gets a little deep at times, and he alludes to some people that I have not read much of. It's caused me to go to some different folks to read, to see what the heck he was talking about, or to get a little more appreciation. But anyway, very interesting book. And a lot of people have read it. It's kind of a modern classic, I guess. And if you haven't read it, it's one of those titles that it's like, what? It's kind of a turnoff because you're not interested in Zen and you're not interested in motorcycles. And probably half the people that read it and really like it, are not interested necessarily in Zen or motorcycles. It's not, anyway, one of my favorite books of all time. And I've read it several times. I even understand some of it. But those big words get in the way, you know how I am. But anyway, that's what the radio show's about. It's rambling time and, talk about whatever comes to my mind, and that's the license I take. And all I do is talk about the videos we do or something, then, what am I doing? So I'm going to bounce all around, talk about different things, and let's talk about guns. How about that? Yeah. Well, I hope you have seen the Swedish Mauser Chapter 2 video. And I actually have that firearm in my hands right now. Listen to this. Oh, man. Oh, this is a beauty. This is one of my favorites. It's one of my new favorites, I have to say. And you couldn't really tell as clearly in that video, because it was a chapter 2, as you can when we're at the shooting table with a firearm, and you get more of a close-up look at the firearm. But it is a gorgeous rifle. We'll have to come up with an excuse to do something on the main range with it and give you a better look at it. And the one I had for the first Model 96 video, Swedish Mauser, was a nice one. Belonged to ASP, down in Jolton, that lends us guns occasionally. And fell in love with it. Couldn't miss with it. Well, I can miss with anything, but I had a hard time missing with it. Let's put it that way. I couldn't get that out of my mind. Nice rifle. And the more I studied that Swedish Mauser, the more I fell in love with them, and began kind of looking around for one. And I had the short one, which is neat. This is a little bit rough, good shape mechanically, but I thought, wow, those things they're almost the epitome of, I don't know, just rifle, a well-made rifle. As I pointed out in that chapter 2, the barrel bands are machined. The trigger guard is, you could bang on that trigger guard with a sledgehammer. In other words, it's overbuilt, by today's standards, dramatically. And they have that reputation for just being like a Swiss watch or something. They're just amazing. And of course, in a bolt action, you're not exactly putting together a complex, firearm necessarily. But wow, the wood in this thing, it's a 1911 again. And if you haven't seen the video, go look at it. It's chapter 2, Swedish Mauser, Model 96. But everything about it, the butt plate, the bolt, as I look at it, the wood. I was kind of looking for one that was, I've forgotten now. I have to look, I have to watch my videos. I think it's before 1914 or something like that. Sometime around there, they started using ash, I think it was, or different woods. But prior to that, they used a walnut. And so, since I was going to buy one, I thought I'm going to try to find one before that. And I already had the short one and the kind of rough one. And my goal was to get a really nice specimen of one. Once you decide whether you're young or old, if you're a firearms collector of some sort, once you decide that there's a firearm that you really want, an old gun, whatever it might be, you don't want to collect 10 of them. You just want one, and you're probably never going to let it go. It's just something you'll always have, and you'll enjoy it. You'll shoot it, maybe hunt with it, whatever you want to do with it. Yeah, I think it's worth taking some time looking around, and that's kind of what I do when I encounter something, learn about a firearm that I know I really do want one. I want a nice copy of it. Is that correct? I want a nice one, okay? Because I just want one, and I don't have to have it. There's no need for me to rush into it. I have lots of cool guns, and if I'm at a gun show and I see one of whatever it is, if it's a Swedish Mauser or a pre-64 Winchester, which lever gun 30-30, I was kind of in the same mode for a period of time. I don't want just any old one. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'll know it when I see it. It will. If it's worn, that's fine. As long as it's mechanically sound, it's evenly worn, it's not pitted and got weird broken stuff and all that. I like one that shows use. I think it's perfect. Moderate use, age, all that's great, but in good shape. Like I say, it when you see it. So you have to keep the reins on and be patient, and then also be saving your pennies, because I've gotten to the period to the place over the years on things like that. I don't have to have it, like I said, and put my bucks away and be saving for it and just have it in my mind. Okay, now if I run into one of those, like, I know that I will like, if it's $100 more than it ought to be, and I cannot get the person down to 600 when it should be, or it should be 7, or it should be 9, or it should be 350, and he's asking 450, but that is the one, and I'm going to negotiate, do my best job of negotiation. And unless it's outrageously overpriced, or it's really the guy's totally out of the ballpark, and he's not even somebody you want to deal with, unless it's something like that, I will go ahead and pay a little bit of a premium, because that's the one I want. That's exactly what I want. And like this one, the Swedish Mauser. I let's see, where did I find it? I looked around. I love to buy locally. I don't buy guns online much at all. This is one of the firearms I actually purchased online. I think it was Gunbroker. And lots of pictures, and everything. And I had seen this particular seller had sold several really nice Swedish Mausers. In fact, there was one I bid on it, and it was older than this one. It was it was like a first or second year model. It was like 1896, 97 or something, and it looked as good as this one. And I remember when I saw it, I thought, oh wow! And then I don't know what the price on it was. It was at the time the bid was $600 or $700, and it was catching a bid here and there. And it had several days left on it, and I thought, oh man, that's perfect. That's what I want. That one right there. I love the looks of it, just like this one. And I said, that's cool that it's such an early model too. And I said, now that one, okay, that's one I'll pay for. I'll pay more than maybe I'd have to, a little bit. So, but not going to go crazy. And I put a bid in, and a couple bids, 3 bids, and it kept going up, and it got up to, I don't know what it was. It was like $900 or something. And of course, I checked around and got a feel for what those things sell for. I said, okay, now this is one I'm going to have to pay for if I really want it. And I decided, you know what, I'll go, and I forgot what it was exactly, but I will go, the highest I'll pay is $1,100 for that thing. I will pay that if I have to. That is it. I love the looks of that one. That's it. It's a good one. He had pictures, incredible pictures of every square inch of it, and of course. So I put in that bid. That was going to be my limit. I thought, well, I guess I hope I'm ready. I'm going to be writing a check, man, for $1,100 for a Swedish Mauser. I'm crazy. But I just really wanted one, and I wanted a nice one if I was going to get one. Well, I kind of forgot about it for a day or two, and I looked back at it, and it was like $1,500 or $1,600. I said, well, I guess I'm not getting a Swedish Mauser. I'm not going to pay that for it. And I'll be darned if that thing, before it sold, I checked a few days later, it sold for like $2,400, $2,500. I thought, whoa. So I got a little, disheartened on that one. But the same people, they apparently came by, I don't know, an estate or something, several. And this one came up in the string. There was even another one or two before it, I think, and they were just putting them out one at a time on Gunbroker. And when this one came out, I thought, okay, that one's nice. I'll try on that one too. And I actually got it for really reasonable, a lot less than I bid on that other one, and got the thing, bought the. I mean, wow. So I think it was in my probably best interest, that there were several they had sprinkled out, and then by the time this one got posted, all the hardcore big money people or whatever had gobbled up one already, because they put out some nice ones. And so I don't know, I just was the time of the month, time of the year, or the best place in the sequence to be bidding on one, or what happened there. But I got this one for a very reasonable price, very reasonable, and man, I couldn't have done better. I just am very fond of it. So, gosh, are you tired of hearing about the Swedish Mauser? Well, I got tired of hearing about the Swedish Mauser, you bunch of yahoos, because you all kept telling me I need to try one. The first 2 or 3 years we were doing this project, I'd hear, because we had the other Mausers, you need to try it, Swedish Mauser, Hickok, they're sweet, they're great, you love it, great cartridge and all this stuff. And I really wasn't that familiar with them. And I think I've talked about this, so I won't ramble on that too much. But so you all are responsible for bringing them to my attention a couple of years ago. And then as I studied them a little more, I realized what you were talking about. Great cartridge and great rifle. I mean, the way this thing is built, I wish you could be here and hold it. Actually, no, I don't. No, it would, you would just, I don't care what kind of firearms you like. You might be just a black firearm kind of person, black rifle person, the AR rifle kind of person and not much else at this point. I don't know, if when you hold this and look at it and rub this beautiful ballistol finished walnut stock and everything, if you don't have some feeling for this rifle, then you're not a gun person, which is fine, but you're not a gun person if you can't like this rifle. I tell you, nice. Whew, boy, such a cool rifle, and I hope you've seen that video with it. I mean, I shot it fairly well. I had some misses, but it's there's something about that cartridge, that 6.5, that it's a soft shooting cartridge, and as I've talked about that before, there is a real return to that type of cartridge and a strong interest in the 6.5 class of cartridges. They're so effective because of the ballistic coefficient, the size of the bullet, length of the bullet, and the effectiveness of it. It's just proven over and over again. So beautiful gun. I enjoy it, really do. I have a lot of that's one of my favorites now, and of course I have several favorites and some really meaningful firearms that have other meaning, and I'm sure you do too. The firearms that you have in the safe, your safe, that you got from your grandfather or your father or somebody, an uncle, maybe someone brought back from the war, and those things just can't be replaced. Sentimental value, like the Revelation 22 I have of Dad's that my mom bought him when I was about 10. So just had that thing forever. And the Ward's Western Field rifle, 22 rifle, the Dad gave me my first rifle that I shot, and that he passed to me when I was 12, 13. And of course Dad's Hall's 357 Magnum Western style pistol revolver that he really enjoyed. He'd go out and shoot that thing a lot, and I'd shoot it with him a lot. But I need to get that out and do. We've done maybe a little bit with it, but some of those guns need to get out again. And of course my Model 29. Anybody can go buy a Model 29 44 Magnum, even a -2 like that one that was made in the early 70s. I mean, you got to pay for it. It's going to be at least $1,000 probably, but they're out there. Not easy to find, but they're out there. The difference is, and of course, the one I have has been in my hands coming up on 40 years. That is strange to think about and to actually verbalize, that I have a gun I purchased 40 years ago, new. Oh man, now it's not quite 40. We're in the 39th. We're moving into the 40th year now, and because I bought it in the fall of 1974. Bought it at a at a gun show, but it was a hardware store that was set up at the gun show here in Nashville. And wow, 2014 takes it to 40 years. Even my fuzzy math tells me that. Don't even need to call my Vanderbilt math professor friend. That's 40 years, and that's amazing. On one hand, it makes you feel old, but on the other hand, it is really cool. It says you have to get to my age before you can have these experiences. You can't have had something for 30 years or 40 years unless you've been around a long time. And believe me, it's a pretty neat experience. It really is. Now, I guess if you're on your deathbed or you can't even walk, talking about how something is this old or you've been doing something this long, maybe not as interesting or exciting to you, but you still up walking around and as healthy as ever, basically, and can do just about anything you've ever done. Probably shouldn't try some of the things you've done, but like a full-length college basketball game without a break. I played a lot of those without a break, so I don't think I could do that. But that is the cool thing about getting to my age is I can still do really essentially anything I've ever done, enjoy just as much, and you have this history, with people, places, things like this. That it's just phenomenal. Because I remember, just like you, if you're 20 years old or you're 30, when someone says, "Yeah, I've lived here 20 years," you're thinking, "Wow, you are ancient. How could you live in one place for 20 years? Or they say, "I bought this house 20 years ago." Well, they might as well be 100 years old, right? When they make that statement, or I went to, I graduated high school back in 1980 or something. You're thinking, "Wow, I wasn't even born in 1980. I'm not sure my parents were born in 19." And it just seems so old, and 20 years seems like an eternity, doesn't it? It's like saying 100 years, 20 years. I remember that. I remember that quite well. I remember when I first started teaching out of college, and there was a colleague that was 27 years old that we were over at their house having dinner or something, and it was 27. I thought, wow, that's getting up there. I was 22 or 23. So I know. But now I've moved through all that on the other side of it, and it's quite different than you think if you're in your 20s. It's quite different, and it's good news. I mean, it's a positive thing from my perspective. You can do most of what you've ever done, and you don't really change. I'm still mentally about 15, So, look on the bright side, and then plus you have this cool history you can think about. And you can enjoy something, and you can just kind of savor. When I pull out that Model 29, and I think 40 years, and it's a firearm that I really like. I mean, I sought that thing. I wanted one of those, and I've enjoyed it for 40 years immensely, and fired it, over 75,000 times, hand-loaded for it. I used to, back in the 70s and 80s, I hand-loaded for that and shot that gun probably more than any other gun I had, I guess. And I don't know, it's still just as much fun to get it out and shoot it. So anyway, firearms, obviously, if somebody is not a gunny, they're not interested in firearms, they listen to me talking about this, and they're thinking, wow, this guy really is sick. He's sicker than I even thought he was, because I talk about this as almost as if it's a love affair or something, that this Model 29 is Cindy Crawford. Nah, people who like firearms, you get it, and you understand it, just like if you're a car guy or something, whatever your hobby is, whatever your interest is, and I get the same feeling for lots of things. For a good book, good movie, whatever it is, art. But the neat thing about firearms is you're not just buying stuff and putting it on a shelf to look at. A lot of people put a lot of money into stuff they collect, whether it's coins or, and coins are a little different, but I don't know, it could be dolls or it could be anything that you just sit somewhere and that's all it does. But, again, I'm not going to judge someone who does that if they get enjoyment out of that. The cool thing about firearms, as I don't have to tell you, is you have an interaction with the thing. It's something you do something with. That's the cool thing about a firearm. I never feel guilty about putting money into a firearm if I can afford it, which I can, or I don't buy it. I pay cash for any firearm I ever buy. But it's something, it's like a tool. It's something I'm going to go do something with. It's like buying a set of skis, that kind of thing. A hammer. It goes beyond a tool, of course. once you have a few, it's no longer really a necessity. Maybe once you got a good shotgun and handgun and rifle, then maybe we can debate whether further firearm purchases are necessities or not. We don't want to debate that with our wives, right, or girlfriends, right? But it's something you do stuff with. So to me, that puts it in a little bit of a different category. And I have done a lot of stuff with that old Model 29. I'll tell you, one reason I mentioned it, I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm going to have it out more this 40th year, the anniversary year of it, and just have it out, and we'll shoot it out. This is a big year for my Model 29. It's the 40th anniversary, and right up to through October of 2014, I want to give it some camera time here and there. We might just have that sucker on the table for every video, to give it special attention. It deserves it, because that thing has held up for a long time. I've had to do a little work on it. It's a Smith & Wesson, and it's not a big Ruger tank or something. It's what have I done to it? I had to have somebody, gunsmith, work on replace the rejector rod at one point at about 15, 20 years, I guess, and it was wearing on the end. And big thing, I guess, was a few years back, the trigger pin broke. The pin that goes through the frame, holds the trigger in. I don't remember whether it just wore badly and almost broke, but it was really doing weird things on me, and I took it over to Jeff Wally at Guns and Leather, who's one of the best gunsmiths on the planet, by the way, and he's helped me out of a couple of pinches with firearms we were going to do videos with, and I ran him over there, and like the next day we were planning a video, and there's something maybe going on with it, and he's figured it out, but anyway, he put a new a trigger pin in, and man, there was something else in there. I forgot what it was. A spring, maybe the rebound springs. But he did. And I'm not as good with double action revolver. Well, I'm not good with very many guns in terms of gunsmithing. I say that like that's the only firearm I can't gunsmith. There aren't very many that I can do much with. I can take a Glock totally apart and replace anything, and I can I can do that with a Colt single action Army. I can break them down to the last screw and do a little work, smoothing up the trigger a little bit. I'm very reluctant to mess with triggers, but I've done some stoning jobs. You get a good set of stones, you can smooth the action on a Colt single action. Smooth out the slot and do some different things. I've done a lot of that on my own guns and others, but I've just not done much smithing at all on a Smith & Wesson or any kind of double action revolver. You could say, like Clint Eastwood, and this is an appropriate time to use his line, a man has to know his limitations, right? I know my limitations with a double action revolver. But anyway, Jeff Wally got that thing back in action for me, so I can't complain. Again, it said more than 75,000 rounds through it, and 40 years old, almost as old as I am. So, but it does fine. It's just as accurate as it ever was. I mean, it really is. I can't tell any difference, any degradation of accuracy or the rifling in the barrel. There might be some. I can't see it. In the shooting I do of it, it seems just like it did when I bought it. In '74. So that firearm will always be special, and I'm trying not to bore you too much with it this year, but we'll have to get it out. I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll put a bow on it or something, and celebration. So anyway, oh gosh, a lot of gun talk, huh? I shouldn't be talking about guns so much, but something else that you're not gonna believe. I might post a picture. I just snapped a picture of it on Facebook. I'll probably put it on Facebook. But got a couple of barrels from Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf sent, and We've not done much at all with Lone Wolf, really. I mean, they're like known as the Glock company, right? And we had some communications and almost did some things a couple of years ago with them, and could do a lot of stuff if I was more into modifications, I guess, right? But they are the Glock. They're one of the key Glock outfits, as far as accessories, aftermarket parts, stock parts, and all that. I've bought lots of parts from them. I used to keep well, I still do, but I used to buy parts kits and things for various Glocks, the popular Glocks that I've had. Yeah, like all the springs and even the spare extractors and everything, because you could buy that stuff. I mean, how many guns can you just go online and pick up and have that stuff sent to your door anytime? It's not many firearms, but with Glock you can do that. And so I would buy spare parts kits. And over the years, I realized something was happening. I wasn't needing them, really. But it's still nice to have the parts kits. One time I needed a, the locking block on a Glock 23. My first Glock 23 that I shot extensively for 10 years. Finally, the locking block cracked on me. And so I was kind of nice. I just came to the shed, opened up my fishing tackle box and pulled out a new one and stuck it in and went back to work. And then one time I bought a Glock 27, which I still have, a used one. It was well used. And actually it was at the Jolt Gun Shop. It was kind of funny. It was before I really knew those people and before YouTube and everything. But bought it, brought it home, and took a couple shots, and it was unreliable. It was not extracting or ejecting rounds correctly. Occasionally, I thought, wait a minute now, this isn't right. This is the Glock. I mean, I've extensive experience with Glocks. They don't do this. I've had too many models. There's something about this thing, and I noticed I think I've told this story, but I noticed the extractor didn't look like it fit, because this was one of the old ones with the extractor was just flush with the slide, and I don't know. I took it apart and looked at it, and it doesn't look like maybe that's the right extractor. I couldn't find a chip on it or anything, but that was it. I went to my handy dandy little supply of spare parts and put a Glock 27 extractor in it, and it's done fine ever since. So someone along the way, and that's probably why they traded it. They it's probably someone who's posted extensively on Glock Talk about how unreliable Glock 27s are, or how horrible Glocks are, how unreliable they are. They probably put the wrong extractor in themselves, or they just got a hold of one, someone else had done it. I don't know. But I'm sure that firearm was a source of some real Glock angst for somebody, because it wasn't that reliable. Wonder why? The wrong extractor in it. Yeah. So, but anyway, it's nice to have the parts, and I just haven't had to use them that much, really. But anyway, back, almost got off the trail there, didn't I? Almost lost my way, got into the bushes and forgot where I was going. But no, I was talking about Lone Wolf, yeah. But anyway, I used to buy a lot of parts, and still do, a barrel occasionally and that kind of thing from them. But they sent a couple of barrels to play with, and you'll get a kick out of these, and you might actually have a use for them. They are, now get ready, this is a Glock 20 barrel, and Glock sent one for a Glock 20 and the Glock 21. These are a little longer than the stock barrel. Okay, if you are one of those people who would like to get a little more velocity out of your 45 ACP, your Glock 21, or your Glock 20, maybe you're going hog hunting or something, you'd feel better with a little more velocity from your favorite 10 millimeter rounds. Got the answer for you. A 9-inch barrel. Yes, that's right, 9 inches. I'm looking at it here. In fact, I've got it right, one of them right here. I just took a picture of it. I was going to maybe put it on the Facebook. It's a very interesting. John and I get a kick out of it. In fact, we shot the 10 I haven't shot the 45 yet, but we shot the Glock 20 yesterday or day before. The day they came in, we stuck it in there and went out and shot it. And it gives the gun a little bit different feel and recoil because it adds some weight. I guess that's it mostly. And plus the bullet would be in the barrel longer. I guess that'd make a little difference. But I don't know. But it seems to shoot really well. See, I haven't shot it a lot. We just shot 2 magazines, but it seemed easier to hit with. If that makes any sense, barrel length generally it doesn't change your sight radius. There's no sight on the end of it or anything. So sight radius is the same, but I don't know, something about it, psychological probably. Maybe it reduces the recoil impulse a little bit. And anytime you reduce recoil, it's a strange phenomenon, isn't it? It shouldn't matter. If you're not flinching, it should not matter at all. But I don't care who it is. I think you tend to shoot a 22 better than you do a 44. It's just, you could take the same gun. If you could somehow, and I guess you could with some models, but have the exact same gun, exact same weight, exact same sight radius, everything's the same. Trigger, you name it. And you shoot 22 long rifle from that gun and you shoot 44 Magnum from that gun. I don't care how experienced you are, you're probably going to shoot better with that 22. I don't know. It's just a fact of life, pretty much. Now, that's not to say you couldn't shoot a better group with a 44 sometimes with it, but by and large, that low recoil, whenever you reduce recoil, you just shoot better. Even me, right, who loves recoil and shoots a fair amount. But anyway, it's interesting. You'll be seeing that. We'll do a video. We might even get the chronograph back out and see what difference it makes in the velocity there on that. It's a really an interesting looking thing, and it drops in just fine. There's no trouble getting it in. It's just the exact same barrel. And I know you probably, if you know about Glocks or any of these guns, you've seen the 6-inch barrels. I know Glock, I think, makes a stock. Maybe stock's not the right word, but they make an OEM barrel, a 6-incher for the Glock 20, because in some states you cannot hunt with a handgun unless the barrel is 6 inches long. I think that's the primary reason they offer that. And of course, the 10 millimeter Glock, the Glock 20, is definitely a pretty nice hunting handgun pistol. If you're going to hunt with a Glock, you're going out hog hunting or whatever you're doing with it, any kind of larger animal than a squirrel, Glock 20 ain't a bad choice, is it? And then, of course, if you can get a little more velocity out of that 6-inch barrel, and then plus, do it legally, you want to do that. So 6-inch barrels are out there for the Glock. They're not stainless. I mean, they're just like the original blue, or whatever Glock calls it, whatever you'd call a Glock barrel. Would you call that blued? But it's just a 6-inch version of that same barrel. But this one, it takes that to a new level. Let's see, 6 to 9 that's almost 3 inches longer, isn't it? Yeah, and it looks like it, and it's stainless, and so it's kind of a cool look, I have to say. Not something you could put in your pocket, but it's pretty interesting. It reminds me of Shane. I have to get me a holster. If you've seen the movie Shane, unlike in the book, in the movie he's carrying a Colt, long-barreled Colt, in a short holster. It's not stainless, but I guess it's just worn, and it kind of has that look, as I recall, kind of a stainless look, because it's a worn gun to some extent. And the barrel sticks out of the holster, and I think they do that for the cool factor, in the movie. And that's kind of what this reminds me. So I have to get me a holster I can carry this in with the barrels hanging out there and look as cool as Shane, except in the 21st century with a Glock. Speaking of Westerns, I was watching some Westerns recently. Actually, I could make that statement any time and it would be accurate. Right? Any day of the year. I was watching some Westerns recently. But I was watching something very recently, and it was, the period was not long after the Civil War, in the early it was in the 1870s, definitely the 1870s, because of some historical events there. And And oh man, I think there were two different guys sporting Smith and Wesson. Oh gosh, what hand ejector models, that came along at the end of that century, around 1900, that period of time, and double action Smith and Wessons, modern double action Smith and Wesson, not the double action Model 3s and Schofields and that kind of thing. And I thought, wow, guys, you're like 20, 30 years off there. How can you be off that far? But I don't know. I guess it comes down to who their advisors are, or if they care. Really, there's a lot of it. And then in the same movie, of course, and this is true for so many of them, the rifles, the lever guns, they had Model 92s, even a couple of Model 94s I spotted in there. You just know the movie producers, directors, whoever. Hey, a lever gun's a lever gun. You mean there's different models? They all look alike to me. Boy, they would too, wouldn't they, if you didn't know a little bit about them. And to some of you who have not, studied them at all, never been around them much, and you have still failed to see our Winchester lever gun video, you might not know much about them, yourself, and they do look alike. But wow, you don't have to get too far into it to be able to, pick out some of there's certain telltale signs. There's just a few details here and there that peg it pretty quickly, and for you, like a Model 92, pretty easy to spot. 94, of course, a Yellow Boy 66, and of course those aren't the ones they make the mistake with. If they were, of course, that's the problem. If they had Henry rifles and 1866 Winchesters and just all of them, that'd be fine, wouldn't they? Because those things came along so early. There's no mistake there. My gosh, because the average typical Western movie takes place in 1870s, 1880s. So if you've got lever guns that were around in the 1860s and 70s or 1860s, you couldn't go wrong, except the problem there is, of course, those were rimfire and 44 rimfire, that Henry round. And so you end up with, okay, so what do we use? 1873s? And that's the one you don't see as often. And it's, I don't know, that 1892 Winchester is just such, apparently, it's a strong little gun and great gun. And even though they're shooting blanks, right caliber for the blank, so they're just drawn to it. But boy, I guess I don't mind it as much with the Winchesters. They are all kind of alike. It's not like they're carrying an AR-15 or something, in the Western. And even if I don't look too closely, I might not see it either. But I don't know, the handguns really jump out at you, to me, because they're pretty distinct, whether or not it's the right period or not. If it's supposed to be 1865, and they're carrying Colt Peacemakers, cartridge guns. It's just pretty obvious, and some of that. But it's interesting to watch. In which movies did they get it right, and which ones do they get it wrong? You can't help but be impressed when they really go to great lengths to get it right. Because it's harder to get it right. It's just easier to pick up a Winchester 92 and some old Colt single actions, regardless of when the thing was made. And it's easier. So. You can't expect to get too much realism, I guess, sometimes. And what I like about it is the gunfights, where one of the worst things I think that you see with firearms in movies might be, it's not the anachronism so much as it's what the bullets do. How many times have you seen a movie, especially if it's a TV series like the old A-Team or something, where they're shooting and it's just sparks? There's no holes made. That's always a good one, isn't it? Well, you might get a spark if it's dark or almost dark, but there's going to be a hole. There's going to be a hole in that car or in that wall instead of just sparks flying. That's always pretty funny. But and then sometimes they seem to have extreme trouble hitting somebody, even with a fully automatic, which could happen, or hitting anything. Shoot up some area and there's not even a hole left there, or shoot up a car and windows are breaking and the sound and the muzzle blast and fire flying out. hundreds of rounds expended, and of course there's not a hole in that car anywhere, and that's always interesting. But it is obviously the movies use a lot of firearms, and for firearms people who have an interest in firearms, you can't help but notice all those things and to take note. It's a little bit of a game, I guess, isn't it? To see who gets it right and how authentic the firearms are. And I, on the other hand, I've been impressed by some movies where they will have a variety of firearms. There'll be a couple of guys packing particularly if it takes place shortly after the Civil War in the 1860s, late 1860s. It's pretty cool. You'll see maybe some characters carrying Schofields or Smith & Wesson Model 3s of some variety, and some of the conversion Colts converted revolvers, which they did around 1869, 1870, along in there, 1871, 72. There before the Peacemakers came out, they did a lot of conversions. Those were really popular. By that, if you don't know what I'm talking about, is you take a percussion revolver and they saw off the back of the cylinder and have bored through chambers and actually use cartridges, because cartridges were around. Remember, we had cartridges in the Henry rifle. If you learned my lesson from the Winchester videos, the Henry rifle that was out there being used in 1862 actually used a cartridge, a 44 rimfire cartridge. So, and just as well as the 1866 rifle. So cartridges were there, and it was just a matter of the handguns to kind of catch up with it. And there were patent issues and all that with Colt, but so they started converting those old percussion revolvers there in the late 1860s, early 1870s, so that they would fire a cartridge. And so you'll see those too in some of the movies. You see some of them in Outlaw Josie Wales, and those are kind of neat. It's an interesting period of time there for firearms, just 1860s, 1870s, a lot of changes. And some of the better movies will reflect that, and you'll see that variety. But it's always interesting to make note of, and I know you all do the same thing. I recall forums where, again, I don't get to the forums as often as I used to, but where there'd be long threads on that kind of thing, firearms mistakes in movies or whatever, your favorite firearm in a certain movie and all that kind of thing. I did get over to Glock Talk the other day. It's kind of neat. I need to do that more often. I used to hang out there quite a lot and learned a lot. Hopefully shared a little brilliance here and there. No, I did. I used to participate in the GlockTalk.com quite a bit. But the forum where I have to spend so much time now is called YouTube and then Facebook. But anyway, interesting to watch firearms in the movies. Fun, for one thing, if you like firearms. And then it's a little frustrating if they get it totally wrong, because there's nothing you can do about it now. So how y'all doing with Google Plus? I still haven't figured out that relationship, to tell you the truth, yet, and I don't know that I will. But all I know is it's a little convoluted now with the comments. I can't quite figure out why things happen the way they do. I don't know if it's maybe there's a setting I need to change or something, but you'll see comments that are spammed out, and some you can revive and others you can't. You can't do anything with them. There's no option to okay it. Like you can go in and revise, you click on revise or whatever, or I don't know, look at the spammed out comments. And most of them you can see why they're spammed out. There's some promotion for something or websites or that kind of thing, and it automatically spams them out. In fact, it filters out a lot of stuff now. In a way, it's good. Saves our having to do that, right? You and me. But it also spams out stuff for no reason. There's just a lot of legitimate comments in there, and sometimes there'll be a check mark or an X, and I can click the check mark and okay it. But then for some of them, there's no option for that. It's just weird. I'll go in and there'll be like 10 comments that really are not spam, but there's no way to do anything about it. It's really freaky. I don't know. It seems kind of random. It really does. But I don't know what to tell you, except make sure you're not promoting a website or something like that. It definitely is going to spam, apparently, automatically. Anything you put in there that even resembles a URL, I guess, or anything, that must be it. I wonder if, I've tried to notice, but maybe there's even punctuation symbols or something that maybe when you use them, it, like a slash or a dash even, I don't know, maybe it just puts it in spam, and then it just relies on the channel owner to unspam it or something. But then it doesn't even give you that option. And then plus, I can't go to every video and see whether things that have been sent to spam are really spam or not. So anyway, if you see a comment you posted and there was nothing screwy about it at all, and you just don't know where it went, that I guess that's it. Because I don't delete stuff unless there's something screwy about it. And as I mentioned before, sometimes we'll delete things that there's just reasons for the big picture that maybe we don't always go into, whether it has to do with EPA or whatever it might be, or we don't want the conversation going in a certain direction that wouldn't be good for the shooting community or for whatever. But by and large, there's got to be something about it. And I don't know what spams some of them out. I really don't. But and of course, there's a lot of it, because the more views you have, the more subscribers you have, the more we are targeted for sales pitches on everything, you name it. So in a way, it's good. I feel more comfortable knowing that most of that stuff, if not almost all of it, is spammed out. I don't know. It's wild. And, so that's just the way it is. But, and then, of course, I get inundated with offers on everything under the sun because of that same reason, which we have an automatic answer almost. It's almost no to everything. And we are proactive, as I've talked about before. Whatever you see on the channel, whatever we do, it's pretty much our decision. Well, obviously it's our decision, but it's something we chose to do. We do it intentionally, even if it's something goofy. And, it's just, it's astonishing. And if you're out there listening and you've got even 10 or 20,000 subscribers or 50, you know what I'm talking about. You get a lot of offers, a lot of attention to do this and promote this and that. And whether it's a music video or some shooting product, right? But so we get that to an exponential degree. So much I can't even evaluate it all. There probably are some things I should take advantage of or something that would be good, and you just can't even evaluate it all. The network offers, the YouTube network offers, everything comes in every day. And that's the thing I think about and worry about a little bit, is that I'm missing things because I just don't have time to hardly even read it, much less evaluate it. And some of it I almost need a lawyer to look at to even give it consideration. And I've got 5 more coming in the next day. So, so we just kind of forget about all the clutter and do what we plan to do and keep doing what we do for the most part. And then, I don't know. There is a weird thing going on with YouTube, though. I think the commercial world is beginning to have some respect for YouTube, and much of it does not still. It's remarkable, like for whether it's for advertising or whatever, the millions of dollars that they spend, even in the shooting world, firearms world, on various TV shows or various venues, magazines, that And a lot of them still don't get it, that YouTube is real and it's here to stay, or whatever it is, at least shooting videos, firearms videos on the internet, wherever they are, and that people watch them by the thousands, by the tens of thousands, by the hundreds of thousands, by the millions, right? And some of them are beginning to get it, and but this is a little inside baseball, I guess, but they still, that's funny, they still think that oh yeah, those YouTubers, yeah, well, they got a lot of people watching that, so we'll send them a box of bullets and get them to do a video on our box of bullets or something, and get all that free advertisement, that free exposure, for the next 10 years, and they don't quite get it, and of course we're in a bit of a quandary because we like our independence, and plan to stay independent. There's exceptions on certain things, but where I stand on about everything, and so it puts the larger channels in a little bit of a dilemma, I guess, a quandary. What I mean by that is, I don't really like the way a lot of the commercial world looks at YouTube, even us large channels, as just what they expect. Like they really do. A lot of companies say, well, send this guy a holster. My gosh, if he gets a free holster, he'll do a video for us. That's like an ad. We do a lot of that. We don't necessarily, but a lot of YouTubers do that. A whole lot of that kind of thing. But on one hand, we could argue that YouTube is maybe being taken advantage of. Then on the other hand, I don't really want to be paid by some firearms company necessarily, do I? I'd like it. I'd like to be paid, but then again, I want to remain independent. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird place. You think about it. This spring we'll have probably 1 million subscribers, and for a company, that's incredible exposure for any company. Yeah. I can give you numbers on just little things I have shown or that I like, that I use, the impact it has. It's just, and I don't get any money for it. So on the one hand, we want to stay independent, but then again, I don't know. You get a feeling where you feel kind of silly. You're giving someone a exposure to something. And of course, you're not doing it just for that. If I get a firearm in here, I'm doing that because I like that firearm, and that's an interesting firearm, and that's what we do. We show different firearms and how they work, how they shoot, and if we get one lent to us from a viewer, that's great. We get one lent to us by Glock or Springfield, Ruger, whoever, that's great, and we show the firearm and how it works and what I think of it. That's kind of what we do. But of course, the ramifications of that are they end up with an incredible piece of exposure, don't they? If hundreds of thousands of people are going to see that and see that firearm and see it working, see that it shoots well and everything, and you can't buy advertisement like that. That's so it's kind of a weird place where we find ourselves. So I feel fine being remaining independent, but then again, by the same token, I feel like wow, they're getting a lot of free exposure that they have to pay a lot of money for elsewhere. So what do you do with that? I'm just kind of thinking out loud. Just really thinking out loud, but right now we don't get any money from anybody, and you'll probably know if we do. One advantage of our having done this so long is it'd be hard for me to hide the fact that all of a sudden I keep sneaking Rugers into the videos, and nothing Ruger produces seems to have a negative side to it. So we're going to be independent either way, as I tell people. Unless one of the gun companies says, hey, guess what, Hickok? What if we write you a $2 million check every month to do just Springfields or just CZs or just FNs? Well, I might have to think about it. But then you would know, it would be no secret. It would be, okay, it's the Hickok45 FN channel. We're bringing everything about FN to you again this week. So, I don't know. Anyway, just kind of a little inside baseball, and most of y'all, you have YouTube channels, and you kind of study this to some extent, what's going on with the larger channels, the gigantic channels, the mid-sized channels, and how everything operates. And it's all a changing world. It's all evolving as I speak, and has been, hasn't it, for the last 2 or 3 years. And maybe it's maturing a little bit. When you have something out there that people are watching, and thousands, millions even, it can't be ignored, and it really shouldn't be taken advantage of. But I don't know. We find we're in a kind of a weird spot. John and I are. Some channels, that's kind of what they do. They're more of an infomercial. Bring you this product and that product, and that's kind of what they do. And they do a good job of it. I could name names, and so I don't mean to be derogatory, because there's some channels I like and people I like that basically that's what they do. And do a great job of whether it's reviewing a knife or a bag or whatever it might be. And we don't do much of that, but when you get to a certain point, those channels included, I'm not talking just about us, maybe it's not enough to get a free pocket knife if you do a video on it, and or a bag or whatever the heck it might be, or a gun magazine or something. Again, partly from the standpoint of they are getting an incredible exposure for free, almost free, incredible exposure. And maybe part of the YouTube maturation process is that, I don't know, I don't know, we get to a point where we don't do that for free, but because we should not. It's crazy. But then again, some channels like us, especially, I think, we try to be independent, and so you end up with all that going on. But I don't know. Just again thinking out loud, but I think YouTube is going through some changes, and we'll see how it all works out. Whatever happens, and we're going to be ourselves, and I'm going to be myself. I've been around too long, and I'm going to pretty much tell it like it is, and show you what I enjoy and what is interesting to me, at least, and we're going to continue to obtain firearms and some firearms accessories, maybe, but things that maybe I'm a little too selfish about it, to tell you the truth, because I do just almost exclusively firearms, and I know a lot of you you request information about other things, and I can't seem to get to it, whether it's holster or that sort of thing, or a knife or something. But I don't know. We're gonna continue bringing things I like. And if it gets to a point where we just decide, okay, we'd like to do a review of a certain firearm, if you'll send it to us, but by the way, this is great exposure for you, and we probably won't send it back. So don't send it if you want it back. We really might. We get to 1 million subscribers. Maybe that's what we should say. Really. And I guess as long as we are treating everybody the same way, I guess that would maintain our independence. I don't know. But then some companies wouldn't do that. They don't care. They don't really understand YouTube. They don't understand social media even. It's funny. There are companies that I probably couldn't get a gun out of, no matter how hard I tried to, for a T&E, and promise to clean it carefully and send it back in a velvet case. And even send them $100 for the depreciation of it. There are companies that I couldn't probably get a firearm from with that. So there are companies that just don't get it. And as someone pointed out recently to me, I hadn't really thought a lot about it. They possibly are a little fearful. There is a certain amount of risk in sending a firearm, a mechanical device, to to be put in a video. So from that standpoint, I have to be impressed with the companies that are willing to send us firearms under any circumstances. T&E, or if they did say to keep it, they're putting it in a video, especially our videos, where it's live, and it's not live, but it's it's unedited, unless there's some reason to edit it that's unrelated to the firearm. But you know the videos, I don't have to tell you that they're pretty much unedited, and in fact, when we do edit, or if we maybe 1 out of 15 or 20, there's a point somewhere for some reason, because I have a problem with something, or John coughs, or if there is an edit point, we're always vitally aware that, oh, wait a minute, we really need to edit here. There was one not too long ago. I forgot what it was. It was because we haven't posted it yet, but there's one we were really having trouble with, this ammo or something. And it's not a gun or really an ammo review so much, a historical piece, and it really doesn't matter. I'm sure the company makes them anymore. It's one of those deals, but it was making for bad video at one point, and you'll see it's a Winchester 1876. It was an ammo issue there, I think, but so we edited it there because I figured out what was going on, and it was becoming bad video. So we situations like that, and I'll explain what it is in the video, so you know what's going on. But we're really, really acutely aware, if we ever edit a video, where and why that would be, so that would not be interpreted or be any, look like we're trying to hide malfunctions or, something like that. Just like when we do these long-range shoots, the 230-yard shoots. And again, I'm not a trick shot or anything like that, but when we did those early on, we always made sure, I told John, okay, now make sure I hit this thing, the gong, 230 yard. Make sure you don't zoom in on it till I at least hit it once or twice. Or there, because we don't want people, because you always got the naysayers. Oh yeah, he's picked up a scope-sighted rifle over there. While the camera zoomed in or something, he couldn't hit that with a pistol or handgun or So we always try to make that very clear. So that's just not ever an issue. That's just never an issue. I mean, I'm not a trick shot anyway. But we don't want anybody to think we're trying to hide anything. So here I got off topic again, I guess. But we do. We put a lot of value in our credibility in what we do. I may not always be perfectly right on something or get a fact wrong or this and that, but you can be sure there's nothing we're ever trying to hide, hide from you. I don't. Why would I do that? I don't care enough, about trying to hide something, from to protect somebody. I'm not interested in protecting anything that much to actually risk our credibility, so. But anyway, a little inside baseball there, and we'll talk about YouTube and how it's going, and social media. It's a very interesting phenomenon, really. Some of you are young, you've kind of grown up with it. But this is all a new thing for a lot of us, and the evolution of it is new for everybody. Where it's going and how it all works out. And so anyway, YouTube is and social media, shooting videos and all this sort of thing, and the growth of it. It's all there's growing pains, of course, and I guess things will probably change in ways we don't even know. You just never know in technology what's going to be happening. Because I've been kind of on the cutting edge through a lot of that growth since 1980, and it's just amazing what has happened. With the internet, I can still recall. It doesn't seem like, but a few years ago, having all the computer equipment in my classroom, and we were talking about how the internet was going to be pretty big, and it was going to be graphics. It was around 92, 93. I remember going on the World Wide Web on a computer there, which not many people had even been on the World Wide Web, and I had Yellow Pages. I remember I had a directory. I still have it around here somewhere. Brought it home. It's a directory of the World Wide Web. It has all the websites listed in it. How's that for funny? And back when you could actually publish a document with the websites in it, just like the phone book. But I remember talking with the tech people where I taught, and how once we get graphics, on the web, things were going to be big, and it was going to really take off and all that kind of thing. And I used it some to get information. But it was cumbersome to use, and it was kind of awkward, and I wasn't sure about how to get around it too well, but I was using it some, and then of course saw that evolution of it move into graphics capability, and just right on up into the 90s and late 90s. But and then of course still the access was slow, and that was the problem. But anyway, it's all changing, and as everything is, and we'll see where it goes. But whatever happens, John and I aren't going to change a great deal. We're going to continue doing videos, firearms videos, bringing you things of interest, firearms of interest, and shooting them and having fun doing it. We've got several videos to post. Again, you'll see some videos that were done when the leaves were on. And good thing, I tell you, it's about a high of 33 or something right today, and it's been rainy and sleety, and so there's going to be a lot of days I'm not going to want to just get out and do a video necessarily. So we'll see how the weather goes. We'll still post a couple a week probably, and again, like I say, you'll see some that were done when it was not well. The Swedish Mauser video I just posted was that was, you see I'm in shirt sleeves. So fortunately in Tennessee we get spells of pretty nice weather, even in December and January sometimes. We'll get a week where it's not so bad. And I'm not too fragile. I like to get out. The thing I think it affects the most for me is it's not as much fun at the shooting table, like loading magazines and like breaking down a firearm and all that, casually, when it's 30 degrees without glove. So I always think of the winter time, if it's harsh weather. I actually kind of enjoy getting out and doing maybe a chapter 2 over there, or woods walks and things like that are kind of fun in the cold weather. Maybe snow on. Hope we get some snow this winter, because we enjoy doing woods walks when it's snowy, and things like that. When you're walking around, and you're not having to manipulate a lot of small pieces of the firearm necessarily. Get our ammo ready and just go do it. I tend to enjoy those a little bit more when it's really cold. But we'll have some decent weather from time to time. You never know. And then we've got a few videos again that we have done in past weeks or so that I think you will enjoy. We've got 2 or 3 new guns or different firearms that you've not seen yet, I think, that we'll be posting. And lots of other craziness. So, anyway, I have rambled enough, and you've listened long enough. You have things to do. Go do them. Of course, a lot of you tell me you actually do some of that while you're listening to the rambling. So, hope you got something done. And I hope you do have. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, even if you don't, hope you have a great weekend, and you are thankful for whatever you have, and your family and your friends and your dog and your cat. Yeah, even your cat. I have to confess, I have a cat. I think I've told that story. We'll put her in a video sometime. And I figure that would probably be good for losing about 100,000 subscribers, right? Oh my gosh, Hickok45 has a cat. Oh, and I've been watching his videos. Yeah. No, I hope you're thankful for anything you should be thankful for, and I'm sure there's lots that you are thankful for. And I'll yak at you again here one day when I'm in the mood. How's that? Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping in and checking out the videos. Get back and check out the videos you've not seen, please. We put a lot of work into all of them. And there's 860 or whatever it is. Hopefully you have seen, I know a lot of you have seen them all. And hopefully one of your goals is to kind of work through them, as well as the radio shows and vlogs and FAQs and everything. And if you do, you won't have that many questions. You'll know more about me than you care to know, right? For whatever reason. So anyway, you guys have a great weekend, and I'll yak at you later, because you know life is good. You've been listening to the Hickok45 radio show. See you on the range.